Hey, Mr. McLaren here. So I realized after class that some students were a little bit confused about some of the instructions, so I figured I would make some video instructions to help you out if you were struggling with finishing this up. So basically, for this first part, you need to be linking some of these words and trying to link as many of them as you can. I'm going to just kind of talk you through all of this step by step. You can go ahead and look at the chapters to go ahead to different parts. Like you can look at like slide 7's instructions and slide 11's instructions. If you look at the chapters in the description of the video. Also, I would encourage you to not like overwatch the instructions. Like if you're like, okay, I kind of get this, try and do this independently. Um, if you need help, you can go through it with me though in the video and do that. But I really want you guys trying to do this on your own. So when I look at these, I think like carbon dioxide and like respiration, those two are definitely related. So I'm gonna try and click on them. If you click on it and you get the little like cross like that, that is when you can kind of move it around so you can kind of get it to where you want. And then we're gonna get one of these guys. So let's click that. So it lets me move them. And then if we wanted to resize it, we can click on the corners if we want to type something out and then resize it as needed. We can say like, we breathe out carbon dioxide during respiration. And we should make sure that that's all good spelling and vocab word wise, and yep. Okay, and then we'll connect them. And you're going to try and do that for as many of these words as you can. So you might be like, okay, what else could I relate to respiration? So you might be like, oh, oxygen, I can talk about that. And so you might need to move some of these out of the way. And then also, if you wanted to change the font size, you can change the font size if you want these to be a little bit smaller or a different color. I saw some people doing some different colors, and that was, I thought, pretty cool to help you keep track of what's what. So yeah, that's the main thing that you need to do, but I would like you to try and use as many of the vocab words as possible. So like, for example, here I'm going to just do another example, but here if you're good off this, you could skip ahead to the next part, right? Okay, so here we could say we breathe in oxygen during. And then we can connect those like so. And you can use other draw tools. Like I talked about this a little bit in some of my classes. Like if you don't want to use the straight lines, if you want to connect things, like if you want to connect oxygen in like a curved way, you can use these curved tools to get some good angles to, also you can customize and kind of pull out different points depending on how curved it is. So yeah, a couple different options for you with that one. Also, the scribble tool lets you just kind of draw as you go. I really like this one, and you'll see why in the next one, why it's really useful. So if we go down to slide 5, basically this part I am giving you photosynthesis, and we're going to try and make something similar for respiration here. So we've got the same molecules, but different number of them. Or we have to figure out what numbers we need to use, basically. So we've got our glucose here, and you can kind of see, I'm going to just present this for a second so it's a little bit clear in the video. I'm probably covering it up though myself. it actually tells you some of the chemicals that are coming out of these cells and into the cells, and then we've got like the blood here and some red blood cells. So we're looking at what's going on inside of just regular tissue like muscle or fat tissue. So they're going to be having that glucose be a reactant. It's something that's kind of coming in and being used up. And then with that, we have oxygen coming in because we breathe that in. That goes into our blood, and then that goes to those cells. And we've got our carbon dioxide here, which is breathed out. It's given off by these cells. You can kind of see it in the diagram, and then it goes into the blood, goes to the lungs, then we breathe that out. And then there's also this water that's given off by these cells, and so that also is given off to like blood and maybe even kept in the cell depending on if the cell needs it. So we also need to, we've got these things kind of placed in the right place, but we need to do the right numbers of them, and we also need to do labels. So we can do a little text box. We can write glucose. And now that I've got like a small text box, I'm just going to use that to make the other text box. So if I've clicked on this but not the font, and I do Control C and I click somewhere else, Control V, it'll make another little text box. And then you can just kind of change the word in there. You could even maybe even copy these from this slide and then resize it if you wanted. You could like copy this font box. Yeah, if you wanted to do that, that could work too. So you've got oxygen. We've got a few more here. So if I just do Control V, that was already in my clipboard. When you do Control C, basically whatever font gets saved to the computer's clipboard. So it's already there, and I can just make another one. So we've got our carbon dioxide. And we have our water. So we've got our labels for these different chemicals, but now we need to get the right numbers of them. And I believe it's 6 of these and 6 of these and 12 of these. Yeah. So like I did before, I clicked on this, and because these two are grouped together, if you do Control C while it's all selected, and then Control V, it'll make another one. And so you can just make a ton of these by doing Control V a ton of times. I think I might have made too many there. Let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I've got too many now. So I'm gonna get rid of some of these by clicking on them and then clicking delete or backspace. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. And then I think I needed 6 of these. And if you count it out and click like that, that works pretty well. So I did another Control C, Control V. Oh, so I clicked on the box here and that moved. If that happens, you can undo, and you can do that with the undo button here, or you can do, as it tells you, Control Z will undo moving an item that you didn't want to move. Is that all of them? I think we might have one too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, this is, I think, overlapping a little bit. Yeah. Okay. And then this. You can also, if you wanted to do this, you could make 3 of them. And then if you select all of those, which you can use, you can highlight multiple of them by holding down Shift and selecting on them like that. You could duplicate the triple. And that should give me the right amount. Let's see. I think we should have 12 there now. And you could just do it how we were doing it beforehand. You don't have to mix it up and get all confused. We just want to make sure we have the 12. I think that's 12. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that's 12. We've got our labels. We haven't done the energy though. So we need to show that with basically this slide, the sun's giving energy here. So that's what's causing this increase in energy. Forgot to fill that out. So that sunlight's giving that energy. And so we can Control C and then go over to this one and Control V to make the box. Or alternatively, you can make the box by going into the shapes here. It's just like the default rectangle, just resized. So the here the reactants should have more energy than the products, because basically what we typically say is this energy is given to ATP, which is a different chemical reaction. So it's powering another reaction, like how the sun is powering this reaction and letting that go forward. This reaction's energy will be given to another more usable, smaller energy form called ATP in the cells, where they can actually use that to make like proteins and maintain their cell membranes and do all kinds of jobs, like maybe even produce antibodies or something, or maybe contract a muscle. So that this energy is being given to something else that which will then be able to do all those little tasks. So I think that that's all of those things. Yep, got labels showing them and the energy before and after. Cool. All right, so then if we go to this next part, also remember that with these screenshots, I should probably talk about that. I forgot to talk about that earlier. So with the screenshots, basically it depends on the device you're on, but I have this website here that has instructions on how to do that. We've done this a fair amount this year, so you should be fairly up to date on how to do this. I'm not on a Chromebook right now, so it looks a little bit different for me than it does for you. I'm on a Windows device, but this, if you look on the Chromebook window, this will give you instructions on how to take a screenshot and insert it. And then we're going to basically go onto this Padlet, and you'll see there's a couple student examples already on here. So you can see those concept maps that some people have made. We've talked about that already. So if you scroll down to the bottom, there's like a little plus sign. Or actually, it appears already at the bottom. So if you hit that plus sign, then you can add your version by going to your uploads and finding that screenshot. And then let's go to the last part. So the last part here, this is a model not of necessarily the reaction, but where the reactants are coming from and where the products go. Like where these things that are coming in, where they come from, and where the things that are going out, where they go. So there's this model of this plant kind of showing you this idea, showing, oh, this is coming in through the leaves, the sunlight is coming in that way, and then oxygen is coming out through the leaves, water is coming in this way. It should also be showing some water coming off from the leaves as well, from some transpiration. You may remember that word from when we did the weather unit in 6th grade. So we've got our little human model here. I want to include basically the lungs, the circulatory system, and the digestive system. because we want to show how these chemicals are entering the body, where they go, and where how they leave. So if we start with like oxygen coming in, I'm just gonna get one of my oxygens. And I also need my label. I could have grabbed both of those at once, I suppose. I'll do that for the next one. But we can copy these, or, like we did earlier, make another text box. It's not hard to make another text box. I'm just being lazy. I don't want to resize it. It takes less clicks. All right, so this is the part that I think is kind of tricky for people, depending on if you're using like a little touchpad. Okay, so basically the tricky part here is that the scribble tool, you kind of have to hold it down as you're scribbling. And I think some people had a hard time with the touchpads, like it was like starting and then stopping. That's okay. That's fine. You can just continue to scribble like starting from there, and you can make a couple different little lines. So basically, if you can do it all in one though, that's the easiest. It ends up looking the best, but it's fine if it doesn't look good, as long as you show me the general path. So oxygen, we breathe that in, that enters through our lungs. So we're gonna have that come in through our throat to our lungs. Is gonna go into our lungs, gonna go into the blood vessels that are around there, gonna get pumped down. So we're gonna come down here to this part in this arm, and then the oxygen will also show it on this smaller model as well. But before we do that, let's make this line a little bit thicker so we can actually see it. Maybe a little bit thicker than that. We can also do a different color, so we can do this like, we can do oxygen as like blue. And I also want to put like a little arrowhead showing the direction that this is going down. So also this, we can make the same thickness, which I think was 4. And I think we did this blue color. We don't need to do the arrow on this part though, because it's already on the end. So you've got your little squiggly showing that it's going into the lungs, then down the blood to here. Because, oxygen, we're not like digesting that in our stomach or small intestine or anything like that. It's going in through our lungs. So we're just kind of showing that path. So we're also going to show this kind of coming in down this blood vessel and getting dropped off inside of the cell. Similar deal, we want to show the direction, make it a little thicker, in the same color as what we used earlier. And then oxygen, I'm just going to show the molecule over here as well. So it's clear what's coming in. So we got that oxygen coming in to the cell. So that's one thing labeled. And so you can kind of imagine also carbon dioxide that we breathe out from our lungs. So carbon dioxide during cellular respiration that's produced in the cell, it goes now, it's gonna go to your arteries or your veins and then come back up. So we got those veins that are going to bring it back up. It's going to go back eventually to the lungs. And then we're going to have it come out through the mouth. So we've got our little squiggly line that comes down out this way. It's for the carbon dioxide. Maybe we make that red. Kind of similar deal with showing the arrow, showing it's coming out and going down the blood. So that's going to be going, let's see. It's going to get picked up by these veins. It's going to come back. It's going to go through the heart, get pumped, then to the lungs. Then up and out through your mouth. So we've got all of that kind of flowing around there. I think I should have also probably had the oxygen. It comes in through the lungs and then it goes to the heart, which then it gets pumped out. So that should have looped through the heart there, and I might have done the wrong side as well in the heart. Um, it's close enough for the first try. Okay, so we've got that. If you're a stickler for detail, you can double check the side of the heart that gets pumped to the body and the side of the heart that gets pumped to the lungs. It's been a little while since I've looked it up, so I don't want to say because I don't want to say it wrong on video. That'd be embarrassing. So we've got like carbon dioxide gets pumped out and then goes out here from the lungs. And I think I actually have that in my clipboard. So if I click that again, Control V, yep, it's over here. So I can kind of show it coming out here as well. Cool. So we've got that coming in, we've got that going out. And then we've got our ATP and glucose. So ATP is really just kind of in the cell. The molecule itself, in terms of energy, is it's a small molecule. Like there's, gosh, I think 30 something ATP created from one glucose. So there's a lot of them that are created by one of those molecules, but the actual molecule itself is a big molecule. Like it has a lot of stuff in it. So it's kind of hard to show it in this model relative to the size of these things because it's much, much bigger. But it stays in the cell. That's what's really important for the purpose of our model. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just staying in the cell. So we're not going to do any arrows with ATP. It's just in there. It's made in the cell and it's used up in that cell. And then we've got our glucose here. So the glucose, you got to think about where does glucose come from? We get that from eating. That's our energy molecule. And we're, as omnivores, we eat plants and animals, and we can get our glucose from any of those things that we're eating. And also mushrooms, because I like mushrooms. I don't know about you, but I like those. They're tasty. Lion's mane. They're my favorite. Mushroom. They're a really tasty mushroom. So then if we go here to the last one, we've got glucose. So glucose is going to be, entering in when we eat things, but then it's going to go down to the stomach, get digested there, and then go down to the small intestine where it'll get absorbed. So let's have this little scribble. It goes in the mouth, down the throat. This is a different tube than to the lungs, though. So this one goes down to the stomach, gets digested in there, and then gets absorbed in these small intestines here as it goes down. And then there's blood vessels there that will pick it up. And then it'll get delivered. I think that I'm not sure if this stops off at the heart and then gets pumped out to the body, but I'd imagine it does. And then we have that go here down to the blood vessels. Oh no, did I not have a scribble going? I thought I had one going. No, I didn't have it going, it looks like. I thought I did. Okay, there we go. Maybe make that one orange or something, and then that should also come into the cell here. Oh, look, it already had the default settings of the last time, so it just kind of made it like that. That's kind of cool. I made it easy. And then we can make another one of these glucose just to show that that's the orange thing here coming in. So we've got all these things, those four things, how they're entering and leaving the body. Um, oh man, we were so close to being done. I forgot to do water. Where's water? So we did carbon dioxide, oxygen, ATP, glucose, but I forgot to do the water here. So let's go ahead and get the water. So water is being created by this process, as you can see here. During cellular respiration, we're just making water, and that water goes into the blood. And then after that, it can go a million different places, honestly. It can leave your body as urine. It could also be sweated out, can leave as vapor leaving from your breath. A number of different paths that it can take as it leaves the cell. But we do have the water leaving these cells, most likely, almost certainly, going into the blood here. I could only imagine it staying in here if the cell was incredibly dehydrated and needed the water, It's like that's the one situation I could imagine that. So yeah, we've got that water that goes out into the blood, and then it could be going to a number of different places. So we're not going to map out all those million different things. I think now we're done. Okay. If we wanted to, we could show this glucose also being used to make signaling molecules to make fat to be stored, all around us. There is also glycogen that I've forgotten. That's used as like a little emergency storage for glucose, basically. So you could look up that and try and include that in your model. There's a couple other things that you could try and do, but you don't have to. That's just like an extension. All right. Well, I think that's everything for the requirements. So yeah, I'll see you in class.